you here. And when I was doing a bit of reading about Ayan, I found out that at a very young age, his love for animals evolved, and his favorite animal at that time was dinosaur. And it was one of your paintings that you drew as well. And today, here you are raising funds for rhinos and animal conservation in general. And you're also a Born Free Youth Ambassador.
Yeah.
But how did you head in this direction of animal conservation?
Animals has been a thing since I was very small. Like, I really loved dinosaurs initially, but I feel like when it really started was when I started on my vacations to Africa. So first I went to Kenya and Tanzania, and then about 2 years later I went to South Africa. And both of those times, rhinos are my favorite animals and the one that I wanted to see. But both times I didn't see them, and I was very confused why until my mother bought me books by famous conservationist Lawrence Anthony and his wife Françoise. And these books they talked about a lot of things, but one of the things they talked about was rhino poaching and how rhinos are poached for their horns, which are just made out of keratin, like our fingernails or hair. But East Asian traditional medicine values these as having magical properties, such as, curing cancer, arthritis, heart disease, any of those.
And
none of these have any scientific backing. So they're kind of being killed for no reason, but the demand is still so high that rhino horn is actually more expensive than gold. And this kind of brutality really infuriated me, and this is kind of how my conservation journey started.
So you mentioned you work with this game reserve in South Africa. Can you tell us more about that?
So this game reserve, Tula Tula, is started by Lawrence Anthony and his wife Françoise. So they bought a piece of bush in South Africa, and about 2 years later, as they were still building their game reserve from the roots, they got a call about this herd of rogue elephants who kept breaking out of their game reserve. And they kept going into the Zulu farmlands and destroying crops there, so they were about to be shot and put down. But Lawrence Anthony, had hope in these animals and wanted to take on this really risky, at the time for a small game reserve, opportunity, and brought them into Tula Tula, which at the time was a very small game reserve, didn't have a lot of money and didn't have a lot of facilities to, have a herd of elephants, but they did anyway. And it basically, that's where eventually he wrote a book about this, and Tula Tula gained massive popularity, and that's how the game reserve really started off.
Right. And you happened to visit Tula Tula this year in summer, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us about some fond memory from it?
Sure. I think my favorite part of the Tula Tula experience is definitely the elephants, as they're such intelligent creatures. And it's really amazing to see how much they are like humans. There was this instance when Gobisa, who's a big male elephant, one of the former dominant males, was coming up to the jeep, and he wanted to play. He was in a very playful mood, and then Nana, who's the matriarch of the herd, meaning she's a leader, came up to him and calmed him down, because she knew that he was in too excited a mood to come and interact with us humans, and he might accidentally hurt us.
Right.
So then she calmed him down, and then they both approached us slowly.
Right.
And it was really magical to see that.
You're an artist as well, and it's so amazing how you've brought in together your love for animal and passion for art. But how did this all start?
So, art has always been a passion of mine since the very beginning, like animals, as you said. And I was always drawing dinosaurs in my school notebooks and things like that since first grade. But I think really when I started to take art seriously was when this project started about 3 years ago. And the way it was actually I felt really bad, and I really wanted to do something about it. So I emailed different organizations the World Wildlife Fund, and they said that the most important thing I could do was raise awareness among younger communities, because those are the communities that are going to make a difference in the future. So I need them to be aware of the issue so that they can actually do something about it. So that there was lots of dead ends, but finally one of my mom's friends actually suggested that I combine my passion of art and wildlife together. So that's what I did. I started, drawing sketches of rhinos and then selling them on the internet to try and get more money and awareness. And then I created a website and then an Instagram page, and then it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah.
And I started getting recognized by charities.
And you have managed to raise
Yeah.
over $15,000.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. So this time in Diwali, you're going to be, you have drawn these beautiful cards, and all this is going to be, the proceeds from all this
Yeah.
will go to the charity 100%, right? Can you tell us about some of these cards?
So the original sketch of this card is a peacock that I drew, but then I've also added some like kind of digital art overlay on it to make it more festive.
Right.
And I think the end result came out quite well. And all the money that from these cards is going to go towards Wildlife SOS, which is a charity I support in India. And this charity supports rescued circus elephants and dancing bears, which are both practices in India where animals are abused to, perform circus acts and tricks.
So, Ayan, you've also adopted a koala in the Northern River area of Australia, right? And like you mentioned, you also work with this Wildlife SOS in India. But 10 years from now, are we going to see you heading in the same direction, or what's in store for Ayan?
I feel like nowadays wildlife conservation is heard of around the world, but it's usually the same animals like orangutans or elephants or things like that.
Yeah.
But I really want to make it like there's a lot of animals that are equally important to the ecosystem that are just not as personable to humans, and humans don't find them as I guess cute or cuddly. Like rhinos for one, they're not very intelligent animals, but they're very important, and I think they're quite special and I think it would be a great loss to the world if we lose them, and I don't see enough people talking about them. So I think those animals that are overlooked, I definitely want to bring more attention to them in the future and expand my reach there and try to raise awareness among especially younger communities.
Alright, so when Ayan is not busy, raising funds and awareness for the animal conservation, or you're spending your hours together on art, what are you doing?
So I have quite a few passions, obviously homework because school and
Yeah.
stuff, but I guess I'm a gamer, so I play video games quite a bit.
Okay.
And then probably more recently, like in the last year, I go to the gym a lot. So I think that's probably my biggest passion right now.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
great. So, alright, one last question. If you have to give a message to the adults, what is that one thing would you like to tell them?
Adults have a lot more influence in society than kids do. And I think that it's important to use your voice and use your power to make sure that your values are heard and respected.
What is that one message you would want to give to the younger generation, kids of your age or maybe younger as well?
Yeah, so my message would be to be aware of the world around you, and especially I guess for me, animal conservation, because I think that the younger people are going to grow up to be the generation that really has to combat these problems. And taking a stand now and trying to turn your passion for animals or turn your passion for whatever sustainability into an action at this age will have monumental impact later in the future. So,